So what brings me here, which I think along with the 1,500 or so other folks that have taken the time to travel and come to San Francisco despite the coronavirus noise that's going on, is, look, this is an aggregation of people in the sort of data and identity ecosystem. And it really is an ecosystem. If you think about the way LiveRamp sort of does business, by definition, it is a partnership-driven kind of business, because none of this works on its own. Everyone either contributes data, utilizes data, applies data in a sort of cooperative fashion. And so the necessity for an ecosystem play is very paramount. In fact, it's necessary. And right now, there could not be more emphasis on identity, on changes in the identity ecosystem.
And why is that? Why has identity become so important as the digital marketing industry arrives in the 2020s? What's causing that?
So I would characterize this sector as having three attributes. One, it's fragmented. That means there's a lot of players. Two, it's complex, a lot of moving parts. And three, it's dynamic. And it's that third element, the dynamism of this space, which could not be in any more evidence and practical reality today. Why it's so important is because there is an enormous opportunity, not just in media and marketing, but let's just take that sector in particular, where obviously the digital channel and the winners of the digital channel, why is Facebook and Google winning? Because their performance, because it works, and attribution because of identity. So they know the people who are seeing the ads on those platforms. The challenge and the opportunity is to apply that level of application of identity to the open ecosystem, and that's exactly what LiveRamp is sort of constructed to do, and why many of the players that are here are all having those discussions. So whether it's the privacy initiatives that we've seen in terms of existing and pending legislation, some of the technology changes in terms of data restrictions from the walled gardens that are limiting the access in particular to third-party data, the technology changes at the portals. We've seen Chrome's announcement about the pending death of the cookie. And by the way, my little 2 cents on that is, death to the cookie, long live the cracker. I don't know, who cares what particular identity? We do need a universal sort of standard currency for identity, and I hope people are of the wise enough minds to sort of try and come up with a better construct. And all of these changes are taking place at a time when the primacy of the consumer is rising, and that's appropriate. That should have been the case all along. That's one of the faults of this industry, and it took some data breaches and a bunch of bad actors and bad things that happened in order to drive that. Now, I'm glad that we're here, because for years we've been talking about the primacy of first-party data over third-party data. I like to say that first-party data is to third-party data like the after-party is to the party, right? It's more exclusive and higher conversion.
And just to unpack that a little bit, why do we need a universal identifier, a universal currency, as opposed to lots of different currencies?
So standardization is the key to ease of buying. It's like greasing the skids to make the ecosystem work. The reason why Facebook is a $60 billion revenue growing rapidly, they're defying the law of large numbers, is because it have massive network effects and it works and there's known users. So if we can sort of take what has worked really well in confined, isolated circumstances and apply it to the open web, we have a winner.
So you're here today to talk about the streaming wars.
Yes.
What kind of wars are the streaming wars?
Well, I think the streaming wars is the acronym, or is the phrase that's been applied to the hyper competition that's taking place to, let's face it, a very, very large sector, television, that's going through fundamental changes. Again, driven by the consumer. See, if you ever want to look at trends, right? There's all kinds of false positives out there in terms of what's hot and trends and so forth. But if you look at the ones that are consumer driven, that should be your litmus test as to which ones are real. And in television, we as consumers have elected that we want to consume things over the top in a different form factor and different economics, quite frankly, than the existing sort of cable delivery of the linear TV bundle. And it's those consumer-driven trends that really tell you what has legs, what's sticky, and there could be nothing greater, right? So the CTV acronym is one that it has got real legs. I mean, there is a massive industry changing in front of our eyes where content has to be distributed in a fundamentally different way, requiring different technologies. You've got the existing big media and telco players. They have one sort of approach to it. The big tech companies are taking a different approach. They're sort of on offense. Big media is on defense, and it's a classic battle. Ergo, stream wars. And it has a lot of implications as to how things roll out. The net of it is, and it ties into our identity conversation, that all of this heretofore sort of unaddressable channel, this massive channel that's growing rapidly and changing rapidly, is becoming addressable. And so there's huge opportunity.
What kind of peace treaty do you expect to see signed at the end of the streaming wars?
Oh, I expect to see blood and carnage. There's a slide in my presentation where I show a graveyard with tombstones, and it has two logos on it of companies that have already died in this war, and I make the point that there's about another 20 gravestones there. Each one will have a logo on it before we get done with stream wars. This is beyond existential for these companies. They're putting absolutely everything into it, whether it's the talent, the promotional, they're guaranteeing the launches of these entities because they're beyond existential. And let's face it, there's about $1.2 trillion worth of market cap that they're defending, so there's a lot at stake.